And on that note, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who's an expert in this area. Several years of experience, and that is Mr. Richard Scarbrough.
All right.
Richard, I'm just going to turn it over to you with this tagline, the first means the first, take it from there.
I have never been introduced as no more Mr. Nice Guy. That's literally true. But I don't know if y'all realize what's happening here. Jeremy spent a lot of time doing this. Y'all are getting about a $10,000 seminar tonight. He's upscaled the dress code. Now we got I'm going to try to share a few ideas with you that took me a couple of decades to figure out. And unfortunately, you learn things in life by doing it wrong. I've done a lot of things wrong. I've bought and sold over 400 houses, so it's like I've taken the canoe trip 400 times. I've had as many as 86 houses I owned, rentals that me and my wife managed, and I literally thought I was going to lose my mind. Now we're down to 26, so I'm only about half crazy, but they're bigger houses. A couple of things when you start investing and you're going to buy and hold, you need to be aware of. The location, there's two things that determine your future tenant. One is the location of the house. Where your house is located is going to determine who lives there. The second thing is the floor plan of the house. I sold Chris Wark about 20 two-bedroom, one-bath houses within a mile of the University of Memphis. They're easy to buy. Nobody wants them. His tenant base is students. That's who lives in a two-bedroom, one-bath house. But they turn over. About every 6 months, somebody's lost their scholarship, their girlfriend, boyfriend's going to a different school, their parents get mad at them, all of the above. So he's constantly re-renting the houses. I want houses where I have a family, usually a married man and a woman. I know we can't discriminate, we'll talk about that in just a minute. But that's the target tenant I want. I want somebody to tell me, Mr. Scarbrough, I want to live here so my little girl can go to this school. I buy backwards based on schools. I've got numerous houses where somebody can stand on their front porch and watch their child walk to school. As far as I'm concerned, those houses should be forever houses. If anybody in my family has any sense, those houses should never be sold. I mean, over in Europe, they own property for hundreds of years. They just don't let it go. So the location of the house, I bought where I got the best numbers. Where you get the best numbers is usually in the worst neighborhoods. So you have the worst problems. There's a lot of different ways on how to do this business. You don't need to do it the way I do it. There's a lot of different ideas here. I'm good friends with Arnold Dormer. He's not here tonight. He's in Las Vegas enjoying his wealth from this business. He and I totally disagree on how to do this business. We're still good friends. We talk a couple of times a week. He has about 160 houses in Frazier that are Section 8. He's making a real good living out of it, but he puts up with a lot of lunacy, in my opinion. The people he deals with have everything given to them. They have a real entitlement mentality. He has to do every little thing. If their kid throws a ball through the window, he's got to get it fixed or he doesn't get next month's check. I'm kind of giving you the Cliff Note version. If his houses go vacant, the first night they steal the air conditioner, the second night they come in and take the furnace and hot water tank. I have houses mostly in Bartlett, Collierville, Germantown. I've never had an air conditioner stolen. I've never had a vacant house broken into. I don't know how long I can say that. I always wonder, every time I say that, it might be the last time I ever say that. But it's just a different market. He doesn't want houses in Bartlett. I don't want houses in Frazier. We're good friends. We use the same vendors on different things and this, that, and other. So whether you make money in Orange Mound or Harbor Town, it's still money. It just depends on what kind of problems you want to put up with. Because problems and opportunities go hand in hand. So as you look at the property, great deal. I've looked at houses I wouldn't take if they were free. I was talking to my son about one this afternoon. He said, Dad, it'll take about 20 grand to rehab it. I said, yeah, it's a $12,000 house. What are you going to do with it then? Who's going to buy it? A 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Great deal, but there's no outside. Like Jeremy said up here, some of y'all may have missed it, you make your money the day you buy. You get to harvest your money when you sell or hold, but you really make the money the day you buy. The thing about making offers, you said you made that offer on Marion and they took it. It made me smile because you always wonder how much, too much did I pay? It's happened to me. And so you really want to make an offer they won't take. But you don't want to make it so low you get them so mad at you that they won't deal with you. And I've had that happen. And I've had agents, they really don't want to make these low offers because it's embarrassing to them. It's a little extra work. And now we do everything on the internet with email. But I used to deliver blue ink signature contracts. And I would tell them, look, you know, by state law, you have to present this. It doesn't matter what's on it. It's just in numbers. They're going to scream and cuss or whatever. I didn't scream or cuss because they're asking too much. I want a blue ink response. And I've gotten contracts back, and across the top it said, hell no, and initially. But here's what happens. A year later, the house is still sitting there for sale. I may be the only person that made a offer. So they call me back. The listing's expired. They've got my contract. It's got my name and address on it. They might want to know if I have any more money or any more cents. So make offers. Just like Steve said, make 100 offers. It's just like playing poker. You kind of call their hand when you make these offers, but you have to work backwards from the people situations. You have to know what's going on. The 3 houses that Pam and I have bought in Germantown, all of them have been out of estates. Now here's what happens when you hear the word estate. Without knowing the names, I can tell you the cast of characters. One wants whatever they're going to get tomorrow afternoon. They want their money right now. The other one, no matter how much it is, it's not enough for Mama's house. And it takes them a couple of months to a couple of years to morph together. The house we just moved into a couple of months ago has been for sale and sitting vacant for 6 years. 6 years. It's in the MLS system for 2,364 days. They were asking too much. You make them a half-price offer, they think you're a lunatic. A year later, it's reasonable. Because what they did, on that one, the agent called me and said, Richard, the sister that was holding out for the big money has passed away. The other family wants to sell the house. Do you want to look at it? When do you want to look at it? I said, I don't need to look at it. I'll bring you an offer today. Everything we talk about is a matter of public record. I don't know if y'all realize this. Tennessee has 95 counties. Shelby is the only county where the registrar's office is online and it's free. You can look up all 19 pages of your neighbor's deeds of trust. You can see what's out there. We made them an all cash as is, low offer. I didn't think they'd take it. They countered at 10,000 higher. I was shocked. So you just never know what's on the other side. So I'd say make offers. But the area is critical and the floor plan. Now, a lot of floor plans that were built 30 plus years ago are not functional for now. But sometimes you can take out a wall, add a wall. We put a door where there's a window where there's a door, and then the flow of the kitchen totally changes. So you have to kind of think outside the box a little bit. And that's how you make your money too, not just finding the deals, but changing the house. The other side of the equation is screening your people. Now this was a hard lesson for me to learn because I'm pretty analytical. I know what every house cost me to the hour, to the penny. When you have a vacancy, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm losing $24.63 every so many hours. I got to rent it right now. And the guy that pulls up looks nice, pay me first and last month's rent in cash, has the U-Haul on his car. That's the first and last money I would ever get. Hey, I've been there. They sue you for something, you're in court 10, 12, 16 months. I've had people keep me out of my house. The worst one was 23 months. They're in my house, I'm making payments, I'm getting no rent, I'm fighting them in court. Here's what happens when you file an FED. It's called a forcible entry and detainer. That's the paperwork that gives you the right to go in the house, put their stuff on the street. Now, most of y'all can't remember, about 2 generations ago, attorneys could not advertise. That sounds crazy now. Attorneys could not advertise. Their profession was so elite, they could only get their business by referral. We have really changed a lot since then. You don't think advertising is that big a deal, except when you file that FED, that's a matter of public record. These people are going to get about 12 to 20 letters saying, come in for a free consultation, we may find a way to sue your landlord or your kid's sick, who knows what. We had so many lawsuits. I was going down to court at least once, if not 2 or 3 times a week, and this was before 9/11. The general public had to go through metal detectors, but the attorneys went through the other side. I had on a suit. I looked like Jerry. They thought I was an attorney. Good morning, Mr. Scarbrough. I was down there twice a week chasing money. It's just lunacy. So you really want to stay away from people who will pull you into court. A couple of things you can do. By federal law, there's 5 ways we cannot discriminate. We're not even going to talk about those. That's the federal law. It's about a $100,000 fine to discriminate. Obviously, race, creed, color, sexual orientation, family status. Some of y'all may remember we used to have singles-only apartments. No such thing. You can't tell somebody they can't live here because they've got 3 kids or whatever. Beyond that, you can discriminate. Here's what I'm talking about. There's a couple of groups of people that I've always had problems with. So I've just decided not to deal with them. One is people who own motorcycles. Doesn't matter if they're 26 or 66, young, old, black or white. If you have a motorcycle, you're not living in my house. We're very straight up about it. I can tell you right to your face. I'm sorry, Mark. There's 2 words people can't argue with. Company policy. It's our company policy. We don't rent to people who own motorcycles. Why? Well, 1, they have a different attitude. I mean, think about it. 2, what would be a little fence vendor in your car is going to take their leg off on a motorcycle. They're in the hospital for 3 months. You're the bad guy on the evening news putting their furniture on the street. I just don't want to go down that road. The other group is attorneys and law students. Now, perfectly legal. You could say, we don't rent to law students. Some of y'all have heard the story. We had a house at University of Memphis. You walk across the street and you're on the campus. Boom, right there. Who's our tenants? Students. Mostly male students. And so I have 3 young men standing in front of me. What's your major? Business, pre-law. I said, son, I'm sure you're a nice young man. I don't even know you. We don't rent to law students. In about a half a second, he puffed up, started waving his finger in my face. You can't do that, I'll sue you. I said, you know what? You can sue me, I can sue you, but you're not doing it living in this house. You're not living in this house. Perfectly legal. Now, let's fast forward. My daughter finishes Union University about 4 years ago. She says, Dad, I can't get a job. I want to keep going to school. I said, I'm done. I said, you have no student loans. You got to pay for a vehicle. I think you ought to go to work. She says, I want to be an attorney. My first thought, literally, just what the world needs, another damn attorney. And then she said, I want to go to Vanderbilt. I thought, she's a very smart girl, she works hard, but I thought, there is no damn way you're getting in Vanderbilt. For every person that's in Vanderbilt Law School, there's 42 people that want to be there. Sure enough, she got admitted into Vanderbilt. The ticket's about 50 grand a year. I told her, you're going to be an indentured servant for about a decade. She said, you owe millions. I said, yeah, but I got other people paying it back. You're going to have to give up about 80 hours a week of your life to pay it back. I met a guy on the cruise about a decade ago, Greg Pitts. He's in Nashville. I've helped his family in Memphis. I've done some stuff with him up there. I pick up the phone, I call him. He's got about 30 houses around Belmont, Vanderbilt. I said, my daughter's coming to Nashville, going to Vanderbilt. I'd like a house within a mile of the school, about $1,000 a month. Sure, Richard, no problem. Be glad to help you. What's she studying? I said, she's going in law school. Richard, we don't rent a law school. You can decide, I don't want to rent to car mechanics, I don't want to rent to plumbers. Any group of people you think will cause you problems. Yeah, a lot of people won't rent to law enforcement officers. You can decide, and that's legal, but you have to be consistent all the time. Now, we have this house, we have all these problems with male students. My wife says, I don't want to rent to male students. So I'm thinking, how can we not rent to male students? So here's what we came up with. The rent is $1,200 a month, unless you're in the School of Nursing. Then it's $1,000 a month. Who's in the School of Nursing? Women or nice young men. So, I mean, you can do things like that. So what I'm saying is you need to be selective on your tenants, because you're giving them an asset worth maybe $1/10,000,000, and you're hoping they're going to take care of it and give it back to you. The other thing we do, and we didn't have these tools a few years ago. How much time have I got?
How much time do you need?
Got another 10 minutes. But we always could run credit reports. You can see how people paid their bills, but that's not the whole story. I think now it's more so the character of the people than the credit. We use a company called Screening Works. They were one of our sponsors. I think they're still around. The website is www.screening, just like a screen door, screeningworks.com. You have to join them as a landlord. They check out people about 4 or 5 different ways. The first thing they check is the Sex Offender Registry. That's a nationwide registry. You really don't want to rent to sex offenders. That's just another problem you don't need associated with your property. Tennessee is the first state in the union to set up a Meth Registry. We don't have a big problem here. It is a big problem in Middle Tennessee. A lot of people have blended families. You have adult children coming home, and it's not just for financial reasons. They've got drug problems. They've lost their driver's license, and anybody over 18 that's going to live in our houses, we run these reports on them. If they've had anything to do with meth, we don't want them in our property. The laws are yet written as to what happens when meth is cooked in a house. You tear it down, you board it up for a decade, what do? Those will be coming out in the next couple of years. Thirdly, anybody that's fighting with the IRS, we don't rent to. The IRS has unlimited police powers. They can take their vehicle, take their bank accounts, take their paychecks, and they're going to be crying to you. Thirdly, we run criminal reports, all 50 states and U.S. territories. Anybody we get to see their traffic tickets when they got busted for smoking pot in college 20 years ago, unless they live in Colorado, now they wouldn't get busted. That's another story. But any violent criminal behavior, shooting or stabbing, we don't want to deal with. Also, judgments and evictions. Anybody that's had their furniture set out before. And then fifthly, which is really the least important to me, is their credit score. I've got some tenants who have horrible credit, but they are excellent tenants. They made one bad decision. They got the big house with an arm loan. About 5 years ago, they could buy a $350,000 house, the tall ceilings, the jacuzzi tubs. Their payments were $1,500 a month for 1 year, and $2,500 a month, and $3,500 a month, and they've lost their house, their credit's toast. They probably can't even rent an apartment, but they're married, and they have children, and they want to be in that school. And a lot of times they can't live anywhere else. They have to rent from individual landlords because a lot of apartment complexes work backwards from credit score. If your credit score is not X number, you can't rent from us. We don't use that system. But here's the system we do use. All the other 4 we've done, we don't rent to. Here's what I'm talking about. Somebody, y'all may have heard me say this. This happened in Bartlett. Had a house, a couple moving up from Louisiana. He transferred with a paint company. She works at Walmart. Good income. Excellent credit. 800 plus credit. On the criminal side, he was arrested 5 times for assaulting his wife. I'm thinking, any man that hits a woman, I don't want to deal with. How many times did he hit her and not get arrested? 15, 25, 50? Does this happen every weekend? They say violence is progressive. He may start shooting and stabbing. I don't want it to be me or my wife. Good credit, good income. No, you cannot live in our house. Now, this was a hard lesson for me to learn, to wait for the good people. Because every day we're burning money. And I have people call me now. We got a couple of houses we're trying to rent. They've only got 6 dogs. I'm thinking, I don't want my house to become a kennel. This would be unbelievable. Yeah, we're losing money, but it's a financial lesson. You have to have some cash reserves. You have to have some wherewithal to wait the time couple of weeks, couple of months, wait for the good people. Now, while you're doing that and losing sleep, which will happen, not just the FedEx jets waking you up, what else can you do? Always ask yourself, what else can I do? You want to network with anybody. Pretend your house is ground zero. Any businesses within a mile of that house, give them a little flyer, maybe offer them a reward or something, $100 Walmart card or whatever you think is appropriate. Let people know it's out there. There's a lot of people, believe it or not, who have to walk to work. Not in our world, but in other people's worlds. For a while there, my son lost his driver's license. I said, well, guess what? You can walk within a mile of where you live, and that's where you're going to work. Or you can get a bicycle and go out another couple of miles. So that's their criteria. If you have a house on a busy street, Jimmy was just asking me, did I rent a house on Poplar? I got a house on Poplar Avenue. I said, well, I keep that sign in the yard because I get calls and I can go rent another house. So if you got a house on a busy street, that's great. Some people say don't buy a house on a busy street. There's advantages and disadvantages to everything. But the couple of things I can give you, if you're going to buy and hold, think about the location of the house. Is the neighborhood coming up, or what's it doing? I have houses, when I first started buying houses in Germantown about a decade ago, and I shared this with some of y'all, the math didn't work. The prices were too high in relationship to the rent. My first house had a $500 a month cash flow, negative, which means I took the tenant's rent, I put $500 with it, and I made the mortgage payment. But I could see what was happening. I could see the upside. I still own that house, and here we are a decade later. The rent has flipped over $1,000, almost $100 a year. That house has gone up. I'm into my third tenant. We've been able to bump the rent about $200 plus a year. So now I have a $500 a month positive. But it took a decade to get from here to there. So I had houses in undesirable areas that made money that carried my better houses. And now that I've gotten older, I've gotten rid of almost all of my small little houses. But you just have to start where you can start. Do what you can do to get from here to there. You didn't start, going through life in the best car you ever had, but it's a process. As most of y'all know, I can talk from about 30 minutes to 30 hours. But I want to stop. Jerry may have some questions, or we have questions of the audience, but let me back up. The landlording, like I said before, this is a business. This is not an investment. You need to learn to manage these properties yourself. Even if you're turning them over to a management company, you need to learn the process so you can manage the management company. Nearly everything that's been done on a house, I've done myself at least once. And when you go in to paint a room, and even not knowing what you're doing, you get out of there in 6 or 8 hours, and the painter wants to charge you $500 a room to paint. You're thinking, hey, I'm not making $10 a minute. I'm not paying you that much. So I like to do stuff to get the man hours, and then I don't want to do it anymore. I called up under houses when we had floor furnaces. I know what a thermocouple is. I know what a gas valve is. I know how they work. And then I saw some snake skins, and I thought, I don't need to be under these houses anymore. Just tell me what it needs, and we'll go from there. We don't have any houses with floor furnaces anymore. But we used to in Midtown. It's a pretty normal way to heat. It's 100% efficient. The heat comes right up. But I've been up on roofs. I don't climb on roofs anymore. As you get older, you want to take less risk. Things happen. But I'm glad to help people. But just look around the neighborhood, see who's there. If there's anybody out in the street, ask them 2 questions. Anybody working in the yard, not guys on the corner selling drugs or something. What do you like about living here? What do you not like about living here? And they'll tell you. They've got no reason not to. But the neighbors determine who your tenants are, because all of us kind of stay around people we like. And then sometimes if you had an odd floor plan, you can change it. It doesn't cost that much. You just got to think, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? And then the third thing is to screen your tenants carefully and wait for the good ones. I've had people that have been with me over a decade. Every April, I send all my tenants a letter. I tell them, if you want to buy a house, I will let you out of your lease. You don't have to wait to the end of your lease to buy a house. If you will let me be your agent, you don't have to let me be your agent. I'm just saying, if you'll let me be your agent, and you'll get a fixed rate loan. I will not help somebody get an ARM loan. Guess what they say? No. Why? Well, you fix stuff. Let me tell you how we fix stuff. On our lease, the tenants do the repairs under $100. By agreement. It's right there. I tell them, we cannot give you the level of service of somebody living in an apartment. We don't have full-time maintenance men. We're not going to come over and change the light bulb on your porch. We can't do that. Explaining the lease to a guy yesterday. $300,000 house in Oakley. He says, does this mean every time we call you, we owe you $100? I said, yes, sir. I thought, well, I've just lost him. He said, oh, okay. Non-issue. Don't call me. Fix it yourself. Call somebody else. So you can put things in your lease that makes your management a little bit easier too. That one idea eliminated about 90% of my maintenance costs. Because people will wear you out doing stuff. And if the doorknob falls off, it's probably because their kid was hanging on it. That's a $10 problem. Do it yourself. Let me tell you something. For 2 decades, I told people to go to the library and get a Time Life book. About 2 years ago, I changed from telling them that to telling them, look it up on YouTube. Look it up on YouTube. I had a lady call me about a month ago and said, Mr. Scarbrough, the furnace is out. I think it's the pilot light. Can you send somebody over to do it? I said, yeah, I can send somebody over. It's $80. She said, oh, I thought it'd be cheaper than like gas and water. They charge $54. I said, look it up on YouTube. What can your hands do that their hands can't do? I said, look it up on YouTube. You can figure it out. You're a smart lady. She figured it out. She was excited. Now she knows how to light a pilot light. It empowered her. I got one house with frozen pipes. I asked the lady, have you got a water key? No. The water came out and turned it off. I said, well, if y'all need some water, you need to turn it on. Go to the hardware store and buy a water key. Now, we usually leave them at the houses. Do y'all know what a water key is? Hopefully everybody does. It's where you turn your water on. It's a T-handle. Put it down in the ground, turn your water. You need to let your tenants be empowered to do some of this stuff so it doesn't wear you out. Yeah, I could have driven over there and turned your water on, stood there while they took a shower and turned it off, but I'm not going to do that. I don't give them that level of service anymore. I think the way you deal with tenants is like young children. You have to be fair but firm all the time. And something that always amazed me in growing up and then as a young man is why the military separated their officers and enlisted me. Now, being the practical person I am, I thought, that's a terrible expense. You got 2 different sets of barracks, you got 2 different sets of mess halls, you got 2 different sets of social clubs. Why go to all that trouble? But once I got into managing property, I realized while they do that, you can be friendly with your tenants, but you can't be friends with your tenants. You have to have that separation of, look, I'm the property manager, I'm sorry, it's our company policy, we can't do that. No, we can't do that either, it's discrimination. In fact, I explained that to a tenant yesterday. I said, look, that's discrimination. By federal law, I can't treat you any different than anybody else. When you pay late, you owe the late charge. The end. I mean, I'm giving you the Cliff Note version. I'm a little bit kinder on the phone. I said, gosh, I'd really like to help you, but you know, by federal law, we just can't do that. They made it where we have to treat everybody the same. So, you're not the bad guy, you're just the messenger of a bad message sometimes. Jeremy?
Thank you. Richard Scarbrough. Don't go anywhere, Richard. Every Friday, we have a networking event at the butcher shop, and this is an opportunity to have lunch and to network with other investors here, and this is really spearheaded by Richard. If you'd like to learn more about this, that's Richard's number right there. Great way to pick Richard's brain and Steve's brain also about just general real estate investing concepts. So check out the butcher shop. Richard, at this time I'm going to turn over to Lynn and Joe. I want to present an award, the Spirit of Kindness Award.
Mr. Unnice Guy.
Yeah. This is the counterbalance. This is
I
not.
was really going to say what happened Saturday. I thought, well, that's interesting because this 48 hours ago I got awarded the thing for being a nice guy. 96 hours ago.
Well, Richard was honored on Joe Garner's radio show last Saturday. Unbeknownst to him, when we were doing the Kindness Corner, I got to say our Kindness Corner recipient of the Spirit of Kindness Award was Richard Scarbrough. We really caught him off guard.
You did catch me off guard because the way the radio show works, we go in an hour early, we go over the script. Joe has her questions there, I have my answers. You got 3 minutes for this one. We're going to take a break at 9:13 exactly on the second. You got 4 minutes for this one. I'm going through the script, and she said, all right, I need 4 minutes for this award. I skipped over that. So we're at the show, and I'm reading this thing, and it says, given to a real estate agent for extra generosity and kindness. I'm thinking, who is that? There's a lot of jerks in this business. Who in the world would they give that to? And then, boom.
Well, and Joe did some research, and some of the research came from people in the audience, and there were things I didn't know about Richard.
I was totally caught off guard.
Well, one of the things that Richard does along with Steve, you do a Christmas thing where you...
Steve's been doing it forever. I just joined him this year. I was there in spirit, but yeah, go to nursing homes and deliver gifts on Christmas Eve. Very nice thing to do.
And
Who do we go with?
Who we go with?
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus and Elvis. Yeah, very entertaining. Yeah.
Also, I understand you're very instrumental in starting the MIG group, and you financially supported the group. Of course, today, you're still supporting
Yeah,
the
I gave
group.
him my sponsor check tonight.
But what we'd really like to hear from Richard, and you didn't mention it yet, but maybe you can tell the audience if somebody wants to come to you to get some advice on a deal.
Well, let me give you the backdrop. I'm certainly willing to help people, and that can be good and bad. And what was happening is I was spending about 10 hours, about 6 hours a day helping people, and almost to the point where I couldn't make a living. And then my wife, Ann, who's passed away now, she said, you have got to quit doing this. We've got to start charging people. And I said, look, I really hate to be that mercenary about it, but this is an idea she came up with. Now, obviously, if somebody is my client, they have somewhat unlimited tech support on real estate stuff. But I've run into other people. In fact, I saw Stanley Mills the other day, and he said, I've got a guy I want to send to you. Will you help him out? And I said, and he knows I'm not going to steal his client. His client just wants some basic information. So here's what Ann came up with and what we do. If you want to talk to me, and I'm not going to be your agent, you just want information, we charge $100 an hour. Your check is to the charity of my choice. So you would write a check to St. Jude, LeBonner, Red Cross, whatever. You hand me the check, I get the warm and fuzzy feeling of sending in the check. You get an hour of my time. Now, I've had people say, I'm not going to pay that much. Fine, you don't get the information. It's like your MIG membership. It's worth 10 to 100 times what it costs. So I'm glad to help folks.
Well, and I just want to read what it says on this plaque. For your displays of value such as kindness in your leadership and service, presented with pride by the McDonald Allstate Agency and the members of the Kindness Revolution, signed by Ed Horold, founder of the Kindness
Well,
Revolution.
thank you, Lynn. But I can be a nice person, but not to my tenants. It's just unfortunate. We have company policy. I can't discriminate. They have to pay the charges. And it's really unfortunate. I had a lady in Bartlett it's been a few years ago. She paid about $900 over the course of a year in loss of discount and late charges. And I'd call her and say, look, just pay us on time. Well, we got the car payment here, we got the furniture payment here. I'm thinking $900 a year, that's Christmas for the kids. Why would you be so disorganized? But I can't change them. I can only put the rules in place and let them go. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Richard.